Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a new copy of Canopy. It's a set collection card drafting game about building the best rainforest with an ecosystem that will score you the most points after 3 seasons. And this game is published by Weird City Games. Now let's get straight into it. Now what you see here is 3 different growth piles with 1, 2, and 3 cards on there currently, but throughout the game the number of cards will shift in each pile. The game plays in 3 seasons, with each one of these stacks of cards making each season. These are the seed cards that will come into play while you're playing the game, but I will explain those later. The rules are a little bit different for a 2-player game versus a 3 or 4-player game. In a 3 or 4-player game, you will have an extra growth pile that you only share with your neighbors, plus the 3 growth piles in the middle that are for everyone. But I will be mostly focusing on the 2-player rules in this video, as they contain all the basics on how to play the game. But the 3 to 4-player rules might tweak some of these basic rules. So on your turn, you will look at all the cards in the first pile. You will then decide if you want to take those cards and place them into your tableau. If not, you can then move to the second pile to look at those and then decide. Lastly, there is a third pile to choose. Now, each time you decide to skip on a pile, you can never go back and take those cards that you just saw. So you will look at the cards and decide if you want those or if you want to risk it for the next pile. There are both positive cards that give you points in all different ways during the game, but there are also some negative cards. So when you move to the next pile of cards, you are chancing getting negative cards instead of what you are presented with the previous pile that could be something handy to score you some points. Now, if you keep whatever pile, you will add those cards face up to your tableau, and then you will add 1 new card from the season deck or the current season to refill the emptied slot, placing it face down. If you pass on a pile, then you will return all those cards that you just looked at, you'll place them back into the pile just like they were, and then you will add 1 additional card to that pile from the current season deck, making it more appealing for the next players because now you have foregone that pile and you are moving on to the next one. So you will continue to the next pile and look at those cards. If you pass on all 3 piles, you will instead then draw the top card from the season deck and add it to your tableau, just that 1 card, and at this point you cannot decline that card. Now the beauty of this game is forming your rainforest or your tableau of cards that will all score you some points, but they all do it differently. So while you're playing the game, at times you might really want certain cards and really not want others due to the way that they score. Also, some cards will score after the current season, while others will score at the end of the game. Some will have immediate effects and are discarded immediately, while others will be discarded at the end of that season. If you visit the bottom left of each of the cards, it will show you when this card is discarded. Let's check out what possible cards you will encounter in this game and to form your ecosystem, your own rainforest. First, trunks and canopies. Trunks are used to either start a tree or to extend an existing tree by placing it behind a tree that you've already started. Canopies are played on top and will be finishing off that tree. Once a canopy is added, no other cards can be added to that tree, making it taller. If you have no trunks when you draw or keep a canopy card, it will be discarded. But if you have a trunk when you get a canopy, you have to add it to that tree. At the end of the season, trees will score if it hasn't been scored already. Each trunk scores the points shown on those cards, and then each canopy scores a number of points for each trunk that is in that tree. When it's scored, a wildlife token is then placed on it showing that it's been scored because in additional seasons, you will get more trees. But each tree is only scored once. In addition, at the end of the season, the player with the tallest tree will score additional points, claiming a tree reward. A tree reward is 3 points in Season 1, 4 points in Season 2, and 5 points in Season 3. At the end of the 3 seasons, whoever has the most number of trees will gain the largest forest bonus. That scores you an extra 10 points. So trees are a good way to score points, and doing it strategically will definitely reward you points at the end of the game. Let's check out the wildlife. Some animals have a text ability that can be used once per season, except not on the same turn that you gain that card on. Many of these abilities will be used at the end of the season to help you score from all the cards that you have collected. Now, if you collect the animal card that shows how it scores, you will gain the listed points for that one card for having one animal. And if you also collect the matching card, then you will score the single points for the first card for having that one, but also the other points for having a matching. So a pair scores both points listed on that card. Animals stay in your tableau, and they will score at the end of the game. So remember I said that there are some negative cards. Well, there are three main type of threat cards: drought, fire, and disease. But depending how you're playing the game, others can come in when you're playing more advanced rules, like lightning can appear. Drought makes you immediately discard a card of your choice from your own tableau, and this is usually negative, but it can be helpful in certain situations, such as discarding a disease or a fire card, or discarding a card that is inhibiting you to score points. If you have 2 disease cards at the end of the season, you will then choose to discard 2 wildlife cards, and if you have 3 or more, the sickness spreads, and both you and your opponent will choose to discard 1 wildlife card from your forests. It might be a good idea then to stay clear from disease or get just 1 of them, because 2 or 3 will give you negative effects. If you have 2 fire cards at the end of the season, you can choose 2 plant cards to discard. 3 or more, the fire spreads and both you and your opponent will choose to discard 1 plant card from your forests. 1 fire card will have no effect, but it still will help with the seed bonus when you have a seed card, which I will explain here shortly. There are 3 plants in the game: fern, bromelia, and monstera. You will want an odd number of ferns, as they will award 2 points each, but if you have an even number, you will be awarded 0 points. Bromelia will score 2 points for 1, 7 points for 2, and negative 3 points for 3 or more. Monstera won't score any points for 1 or 2 of those, but if you get 3 or more, you will score 8 points. If you have a seed card at the end of the season, you will then be able to draw 3 seed cards and keep 1 to add to your forest for each seed that you have. In addition, if you have any fire cards, you can draw 1 additional card from the seed deck when drawing. So 1 seed and say 2 fire cards will let you draw 5 cards, 5 seed cards, and then choose 1 to keep. There are rain and sun cards, and you should try to balance them, as they score 5 points when you match a rain card with a sun card. Later, after you understand the game, you can add in the advanced cards, which will add additional threats and more cards. You might need to swap out some of the cards depending on how you set up the game, so don't always assume when you're in those advanced modes that you're using all the cards that the game comes with. You're going to need to get rid of some of them, and this will better balance the game. After players take turns going back and forth claiming all the cards in the season deck, they will score season points by collecting the point tokens. All wildlife will stay, seeds are exchanged for a seed card each and then discarded. Threats are discarded after its effects. Trees stay and are then scored, then a token is placed on top. Plants and weather are scored, and then all cards are discarded except for the animals and the trees. The next season deck is then set up and the players continue playing. Now after 3 season, players will do the same steps and in addition will score their wildlife and award the largest forest bonus. The player with the most points at this point in the game will win. This game is a fun game about building your own ecosystem and benefiting from the growth of even sometimes the threats that will come about. The gameplay definitely matches with the theme, as the card abilities and the way that they score all have a sense in why they score and the way that they do that. I like the drafting part in the game. You have to choose if you want to take what you currently see without knowing if the next pile is better or possibly worse. And players will most likely want more cards, so going for those big piles is smart, but that doesn't guarantee that those cards are all going to score you more points than another pile. So really, strategy does come into gear in this game. It's also hard to count cards because you never know what certain cards will appear in each season, as they could all be in any of the 3 seasons. In addition, 10 random cards are discarded out, so you can't count on anything showing up for sure in this game or being in a certain season. Overall, Canopy is a delightful game, excellent at 2 players, but can be changed to play with 3 and 4. The components give a little added touch to the game, like the tokens that you place on the trees, stating that you have scored them. The tree trophies are nice too, as they are actually tokens instead of a card. So make sure that you build your ecosystem in your rainforest with your family and friends in Canopy by Weird City Games. Again, this is Boardgame Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.